Everyone, welcome to today's session of Stop and Recharge. My name is Pam, and I am feeling very fortunate to welcome Moira Lowe to today's session of Stop and Recharge. And the topic is healing the soul and heart. Healing the soul and heart. So, Moira was born and educated in Argentina. She was a surgical nurse, and because of her passion in art, she also studied museum administration. At the age of 24, had a deep desire, and she set out for a 2-year journey in search of the true meaning of love and a higher purpose in life. As a lot of us do feel sometimes, what really is my true purpose in life? So she had that desire as well. So this desire led her to a journey to Mount Abu, which is the headquarters of Brahma Kumaris in India. With this passion, her personal practice, experience, and the deep desire to help others, she has tremendously helped by cooperating in establishing many Raja Yoga centers in South America. Currently, she is the director of Brahma Kumaris in Argentina, many centers in Argentina, and she's the director. I have met Moira many times in India and in England. She maybe doesn't remember, but she has always come across as a very cheerful, light, and lives by the deep conviction that life is a wonderful game that we all play. Life is a wonderful game that we all play. Her driving force is for her driving force is love for God and the human family, all of humanity. So I can go on and on, but I would like to take this opportunity with a warm welcome from all of us to Moira. And Moira, thank you very much for taking out this time for us from your very busy schedule. Thank you. So Moira is going to present on the topic, healing the soul and heart. Thank you, Moira. Welcome.
Thank you, Pam, for that lovely introduction. And I feel very honored to be with you all. I have never come to Canada. So this is my first visit. By this means, it's such a wonder that this time we have made the world so small. On one hand, we had to be isolated, but this brought us all together. So it's just amazing. It just feels so close. So good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to share with you something that I value a lot on my spiritual journey, this aspect of healing, because I want to share with you a personal experience from which I learned a lot, and it's something that I continue to practice, because I think that for all of us, this lockdown, I see that the pandemic, took charged us a very high price, but the lockdown became a gift. Also, I could say that many people in Argentina, and I guess across the world, lost jobs and many businesses broke down. So the economy is here, it's a mess. But I think Argentinians, we are very resilient because our economy has never been any better. So it doesn't really make much difference. It's always a mess. But it has also been a gift to have this special time for many coming back home to live with a family where kids were at school and the parents working together. And although things have opened up, I don't know about Canada, but here it's kind of all back to normal, absolutely. And because it's our summer also, you know, you go out to the streets and you would never think there's anything like a pandemia. We don't even get too many news about it. And I guess, you know, there's new versions of it. So maybe in March or April, when we go into our fall, that might come back. But right now it's not happening. But it did give us a chance to spend a lot of time with the self. And this is, I did get the COVID at some point, and when I got it, I just thought, okay, COVID is my friend. It's going to bring me a gift. So I was very open to see what I would learn in that space of time that I had to be 2 weeks isolated in our meditation center in Buenos Aires, which gave us, another sister also got COVID from me. And it gave us a chance to take a lot of loving care, and we were fed very lovely food, and we were protected in many ways. It was very mild, I must say. But what was really happening behind all those scenes was how I would use that time and what would be the gift of that time in my room for 2 weeks. And the gift was deep healing. So this is something that I have observed and I have worked on in several moments of my journey. And I was never so aware of the need of healing as when I went first trip to Australia. I mentioned to someone, one of our teachers there, that I had a very severe anemia. And so he said, well, I'd like you to speak to a friend of mine. She's a healer. And I had no idea. I had no experience with healers at all, ever. And so he gave me the phone, but I never managed to call her. I was so busy. We had so many, you know, trips here, there, and programs. And one evening she called me. And so she asked me how I had done in Australia. And I kind of shared things with her. And one of the things I told her was that everywhere I went, everything was so familiar. And so she said, well, your previous birth was here. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then she asked me something like, who is the man standing beside you with a black hat? And I thought that was really strange. But I thought, you know, I like to think that life is a game, so I play the game. And so she took me to a place of my own life story. And so I said, well, the only man with a black hat I can think of is my dad. So I said, it must be my dad. And I had no idea what I was going to go in. And so she explained to me, it's safe to be beside him. And she went on, and I won't share the whole thing because it's, you know, but what she exposed me to was to look at a trauma that I was carrying from my childhood. And so she went on to some kind of practice that she does. You get a kind of, you're showered in this energy of colors and so on. And for me, it was a surprise, but it turned a light on about this need to heal. And it made me aware that, you know, we're traveling, we're growing and doing so many different things. And we don't realize that sometimes we find ourselves either stuck or we're not able to move at the speed we would like to move because there's something that is holding me back. And so later on this spiritual path, I came across one of our teachers in the US. Maybe you know her. She's a dear friend in our BK family. She's called Judy Rogers. And Judy exposed me to a very interesting exercise on healing the self. And so she had us, we were two, doing like a special event with her. And it took us a full day. And she ran us, I will only share the essence, but you can certainly go to her or she can explain to you in full details if you want a session to do this process, because for me, it was transforming. And so she told us that, you know, we carry these experiences from childhood that have become some form of a pattern that becomes like a filter through which we look at life, events, people, relationships. And the way we perceive everything goes through that filter. And so the exercise was to identify. And so we learned how whatever experience we have a thought, and then that creates an experience or a feeling and an experience, and then we record that, and the heart stores this. So that creates like a pattern. And so the whole exercise on this healing trip was to identify, it was an exercise of going into myself, becoming very silent, very introspective, and opening the door of my heart, to look into my heart and to identify what was in my heart. It was very interesting. So we went in a meditation, we were walking through a forest, and suddenly we came across a door, and we opened the door and we walked into the heart. And so she kind of paused, and we were able to look. And when you look into your heart, you can identify what exactly is sitting there. And so I connected with the same experience that the healer was talking to me when many years before in Australia. And so that took me right back to my childhood, a very traumatic experience that I had gone through. And I can just share very essential. I was a vegetarian kid, and my father obliged me to become a non-veg in a very violent way. And so it became like a trauma. And what Judy was explaining to us is when you have a traumatic experience, you create thoughts around that, and then that creates a feeling, and the memory will be stored in my heart. So from that experience, what I recorded in my heart was that I cannot trust adults. And it was connected to love. You know, like if I'm being treated in this way, maybe I'm not worthy of love. And so I should be very careful. So this became a filter in the soul, a pattern through which I would then perceive. On my journey, I would perceive people. And when we want to be present, when we want to be happy, these patterns that are like recorded in the soul become like a handbrake, and they separate me from myself, from others, and from God or the divine. So in this exercise, we had to identify this, and it became very, very clear, these thoughts, these feelings, this experience, and the pattern. And then when I looked, along the path, I could see how that was affecting and how that was an influence in the way I related to everything. So then what Judy urged us to do was now have a conversation with your thought pattern. And if we were to do this now, we might identify in our heart more than one. We might find that we had several experiences which were traumatic or hurtful, that created some kind of sorrow, some kind of pain in the soul. And they've been sitting there for decades. And we move on, we continue with everything else, but then we don't realize the connection it has with the way I'm feeling and the way I do things today. So what she asked us to do was have a conversation with your thought pattern. And we had to write a letter. So it was like, dear, and then I quoted on the paper the thought pattern, which I had identified. So I had to express that I became aware that you're sitting in my heart and have been there for a long time. But now it is time to go. It's time that I move on without you. So the conversation was about trying to understand why that thought pattern was created. And normally we would find that the purpose of a thought pattern that would be like to protect me. Somehow it was like a feeling of survival and protecting in terms of affection. So because I would have to live with my parents, even if there was this violence inflicted in me, I would still want to trust them. But there was this thing that was in the, you know, like a barrier somehow. So the reason why that was created was to protect me. So I had to become aware that I used that all this time to protect me. But now I was ready to let go. And now I would continue without it. So in this way, kind of, you know, give a farewell to whatever has been your handbrake. And if we do this exercise, and one thing that Judy advised was that you have to do this each, you know, whatever feeling, whatever thing you identify in your heart, take one by one, and let it go. So healing is about acknowledging what it is that is holding me back, what it is that is creating this pain. Because if I think that people are not trustworthy and that I have to be, you know, in a kind of alert mode, this would stop me from expressing my love and would stop me from receiving love. And this is where the pain comes from. So in this time of pain, it was a very interesting process, because what I felt, this happened quite a few years ago. What I experienced is that when I did this exercise, I was able to internally face my dad, and this is what the healer in Australia had told me, and feel safe. And so what happens is that in order to heal, we need to forgive. And this is exactly what I did. And although I thought that, you know, my relationship with my father was fine, I didn't find that I was in any way too distant from him. But obviously there was this thing in my heart. And this brought me so close. This year, my dad passed away from COVID. He was 90. It was something we could expect. But I felt that in the past few years, having had this deep experience of forgiveness, healed my heart to such an extent that it allowed me to have total acceptance of, you know, who my dad was, why he was like this. And it was such an interesting thing. And I want to just share this, just to finish this story, that when he left, I felt very, very, very clearly and very deep in my heart that there was no string, no attachment. I had no pain in my heart. I didn't feel that I was losing anything or anyone. And I couldn't tell my family this, but I had like an inner joy that I had become free from blaming in any subtle way. And I had made him free from whatever pull I was, in a way, you know, when we have expectations from people, it's like a pull. It's something we want. It's like a string, like a bondage. So I felt that the healing makes us free, and it allows us to create relationships in which we experience true love, a relationship in which we're able to accept not only who I am, but also who, in this case, he is, and not expecting him to be any different from what he is. And I felt, I must say that I received so many good wishes from all my divine family, the Brahma Kumaris as a family, from the region, from across the world. And I could feel that the soul of my father was kind of nestled in a white energy that was taking him from one body to the next in a very safe way. And it was an amazing experience. I felt joy. I was not sad. I didn't shed one tear. And I was just so aware that each, you know, we're 5 kids, so each one had a different experience of his departure. But I felt that healing had made us free, had set us free. So, and this, I can only say, if you would like to do this, I know Judy and all the Brahmin family in Toronto, you probably have done this yourselves, or you could have Judy run it for you. It is so interesting, so profound to really give yourself a chance to look into your heart and see what I have been carrying and how that has weighed in my, on the journey, and that this is time of transformation. This is the time of healing. And this was the gift of COVID for the whole world, giving us time and a chance to become aware of opportunity and allowing us to ask ourselves, how am I today? And this is not a question to say, a superficial question. This was the time and space for very deep observation, for very deep perception of my feelings, my heart, my stage, but also giving space to the question of what is it that I want. So in asking myself what I want is opening the doors of opportunity to feeling completely different and to letting go any wound of my past. And sometimes we don't realize how it is that I am hurting myself on a daily basis. And so I would call that a sabotage to the self, how we create wounds in the soul. And it is by expressing negative traits or negative behaviors that come charged with so many emotions. And so when we, for example, what I discovered, criticism is a way of hurting the soul very, very deeply. And we would probably not think that criticizing people is something that we need to heal from. And because, everybody is entitled to give an opinion, and we think that we've legitimized talking about others, giving an opinion about everyone and everything. And because everybody does it, we might even think it's normal. But really, it is a way of hurting myself very deeply, because every time that I look at someone's weaknesses or their failures or their mistakes, and furthermore, I speak about it, I am breaking my own inner peace. I am depriving myself of my own tranquility, of being, stable within. And so it took me a while. For many years, I tried, I felt I was a critical person. And I know criticism is like cancer in the soul, and it's something that I think we all need to heal from. But I felt particularly that it was a weakness I needed to overcome. But I had never become aware of how much damage it causes to myself, to my relationships. And so healing from this behavior, it is not an original behavior of the soul. It is a learned behavior. It comes from our ego. And so an ego is not what I am. This is another learned behavior. And so criticism or even getting angry. Many years ago, talking to a scientist, a friend of mine who was in quantum physics, I told her I have this severe anemia. And she said, well, I said, I need to take care of this because it will, if it's something chronic, it might become leukemia. It could become leukemia. And so she said, when the soul overcomes its anemia, the body will heal. I thought, wow, what a connection. And I had this conviction that whatever happens to the soul will happen to the body. So I looked right back to my childhood. What was anemia in the soul? And I realized that, a value that I cherish a lot is justice. So whenever something was unfair, I would fight for it. I believed that fighting for my rights was a way to attaining it, you know? And so having done a very deep introspection, I realized that, you know, again, a pattern repeating all along my life, that whenever something didn't work out the way I wanted, I was angry. I reacted. I was upset. So again, I realized, so I said to myself, okay, anemia in the soul, for this soul is anger. So again, something I had to heal from. And I've gone a long way overcoming, but not completely. And I realized that, you know, projecting on things that we think that make us angry and thinking that that is the reason why I am upset or offended, or, you know, I feel left aside or whatever. You know, anger has very visible and invisible faces. So I realized that anger is a sickness in the body. But this year I discovered that laziness is a very invisible sickness in the soul, I meant. But also carelessness is a sickness of the soul. And we need to heal from this, because this is all about what am I doing with my mind and my time. And going deeper into understanding like why it is that we react to everything, because we think that the reason why I feel like this is coming from outside of me. It took me deep observation to realize that we don't react to what is happening, and that is not that my reaction is for someone else to be blamed for. It's all about what I think of what is happening around me. So let's say someone is being unkind or indifferent, could be anything. And I feel, you know, somehow disturbed. You could say, well, I'm feeling like this because that is happening, because someone is saying that. But really, if I go deep within myself, I would realize that what triggers my reaction is not what is being said, but what I think about what I'm hearing. And this was something I learned from someone whom you might have read. He's a very well-known author in the Brahma Kumaris called Mike George. Mike has written a very interesting book, which is all about healing, because it's about overcoming anger. And anger is such a serious illness in the soul. And Mike, in his book, has this sense of humor. You know, he says the things that are not so easy to accept in a very humorous way, so we can, you know, we can take it at heart easy. And one thing that he was saying is, things happen for me, but not to me. And if we think about that very deeply, we would discover such an amazing treasure. And that is that, you know, if someone is insulting you, you could say that that is happening here. Let's say I'm with the person here, and that person is saying, you know, rude things or unkind things to me. And if I ask you, is that happening? What would you say? You would say, yes, it is happening, but here. But if I ask you, is it happening to me? Then you might have to think about that. You would say it's happening there, and he's talking about you, and he's talking to you. So you might tell me that it is happening to me. But if we look at it deep from within, suppose this person is insulting me, then unless I think about what he or she is saying, it wouldn't be in my inner world. It would only be here. So I could say it is happening, but not to me, until I myself think about it And I would say, how does he dare to talk to me like this? Who does he think he is? Or da 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 da, So I would go into the mode of reaction. And then I would feel offended or disturbed. And then I could blame and say, well, I feel like this because you've just said this. But if I look deeper within, I would realize that if I hadn't thought anything about what I heard, I would not feel bad. So this is where this connection between my thoughts and my feelings, I need to realize that whatever I think will determine what I feel. And that will give me an experience of, for example, feeling disturbed. So if I don't think about it, I won't feel it. So who is to blame for the way that I feel when someone is rude to me? Who should I forgive? Should I forgive him for saying it? Okay, fair enough. Or should I forgive myself for thinking about it and therefore making myself feel that way? Do you see? So when we take responsibility for how I feel, then this healing process starts. Because from the exercise I had done with Judy about, going into the heart and identifying the pattern, the exercise we had to do was, okay, so what is it that I want? And then I need to determine what it is what I want, because the healing process is coming out of the influence of a habit that has been created in the soul and creating a new influence. And you would say, well, where should that come from? So if I've been influenced by negative emotions and created habits that have had me in this pain for so long, I need to walk out of that, not just by, saying I want to feel different. I need to walk myself out of that influence by being under a much more powerful influence. So that would take me deeper into myself. Through silent introspection, we are able to perceive what is original in me. And for example, I would be able to see that here I am angry, this is a habit, but if I look deep into myself, I would know and I would recognize that I am really peaceful. And so if I focus on peace, if I think of my peace, then that is the feeling that I'm going to emerge. So when we connect with what is original in the soul, in the being that I am, then I will allow the expression of that. But it's easier said than done, because in order to be able to keep that focus rather than being pulled again and again back to old feelings, back to old patterns, back to, these very known behaviors with which I have identified. So the healing has to do with allowing something to die and allowing something to be born. And this is about who I think I am, because I may have gotten used to thinking that I was angry, aggressive. I was always in Spanish, we would say like someone doing justice, but I used to always have a cause. I couldn't stand anything unfair. So I kind of fought for it. And I thought that was a very interesting aspect of myself as someone who was fair. But getting angry doesn't make me an inch fair, or any better than what I was objecting. So this identity of thinking that becoming angry was a form of power is something I need to let go. And I can only let it go when I realize that my real power is being peaceful and is being myself, really, because when I'm peaceful, I can be cool. And even if something unfair is happening, I don't need to react to it. I can respond to it. And I could respond to it speaking, You know, when we are in this game of healing, we become very reflective. And a reflection is like a space in which I'm able to perceive, understand, and make a choice. Because before reacting, when we are able to reflect, what is it that I want to do in this case? Sometimes we are provoked and people would like you to react, but if you are able to remain cool and protect your heart from peacelessness, from anger, from fear, from any negative emotion, then I am coming back into control, not of the other, not of the situation, but of myself. And this is really what, when I'm able to express what I choose to express freely, and not under the compulsion of a reaction, because I'm under the trap of a habit that I've always been under. So this might take some time and a lot of determination, because healing goes in hands of a clear focus, a conscious choice, and a lot of determination power. So, but it's not something that I could say that I have done on my own. Definitely not, because the power of habits is huge. I mean, the domain of ego is such. But, and this is where meditation is our, what do you call it? I can't get the word in English. When you want to, well, doesn't matter. This is the great tool that we can use, meditation as a tool, as a means, not as an end, in which I can come back home into my silent observation and connect with myself. But I take it further into I need to go further into connecting with the source of my peace, with the source of true love. And this is where the real healing will take place. Because when we are able to go within and see that I am this pure spiritual energy and recognize that this is who I am, then from that perspective and vision, I'm able to recognize who I belong to. And it will take me to go deeper into silence, into a very fine perception of the divine, and realize that this is the source of peace and the source of love, unconditional love. And as much as the sun is the source of light and warmth for everything moving on the planet, but especially, let's say, a flower, and the flower in its seed has its full content, but when the sunlight touches it, it allows it to awaken, and it allows the free expression of what is held within the seed. And then comes the sprout and the plant and the flower or fruits. It's a tree. So what happens to us when we are touched by the purest, unconditional, true love is that which is lying within me, maybe dormant or unseen for so long, awakens. And when my ability, when the love that I am is awakened, then I'm able to not only feel that, but express it. And that can be shared. So the true healing happens when God's love is able to heal the wounds of my past and touch my heart in such a way that I feel that I'm letting go, and those thoughts won't come again. I never again had those same thoughts about my father after I healed, and so this is something that we need to play with. We need to dare and allow myself to open my heart to him. And I just want to finish, before we do a meditation, with a very beautiful practice that we have here in the Brahma Kumaris, in which we see God as not only the father of the soul, the eternal parent of the soul, and the source of power and virtue and beauty and light that empowers the soul, but God also as the mother of the soul. And this feminine energy that is in perfect balance within his being of as the divine, where there's the masculine and the feminine energy. So when we want to heal, we want the protection, but we want to be understood. We want to be embraced in complete acceptance. And when we have made mistakes and we feel guilty, it is difficult to heal because maybe I just can't forgive myself. So I need to go into this relationship, into this field of love, of total acceptance. And I need to be able to, meditation is not only observation or contemplation, but it is also conversation. And in this, I'm able to open my heart and share with my divine mother and father, both combined, what it is that I'm holding in my heart with no shame, no guilt, no, I need to be able, because God will only love me. It is the only thing he can do because he is the source of love. So there's no question of him condemning or blaming or, So a beautiful practice that we do is we write letters to God. And this has been my experience for so many years, Writing to him is like a conversation. Because when we write, we put it on paper, it's as if it helps us to kind of put it out there, outside of me. And once I give it to him, I need to let go and understand that, what will God do with anything, any rubbish from my heart? He can only burn it in the fire of love. What else would he do? And if something is burned, it will disappear. It will disappear. So that is the experience that we can take from him when he cleanses. He sees his children with so much love, and all he wants is us to come close to him. And coming close to him is like just seeing not only myself as a spiritual being, but seeing him as the divine, and coming as a child, as a worthy child of his love. And so maybe we have been deprived of love for so long. I mean, the whole world, all we need is love. There's the song, all we need is love, right? So when we come into this orb of love, then the soul is nourished. And when we are connected to that love that is within us, then we are ready to let go. And this we need to do again and again and again, because there are many different things that we need to heal from, but especially from our own negative thinking. We have to become aware, what words do I speak to talk about myself? So I'll stop here because we're going to do a brief meditation, but I would like us to go into an experience of this healing power of love. So I'd like to invite you to sit comfortably and take a deep breath. Make sure your body is relaxed and comfortable. And let us bring all our attention inward. Let me take all my attention to a very sacred space behind my eyes. And let me observe myself. Let me feel my presence. I am in my company, aware that I am spiritual energy, the living force in this body. I am the energy that looks through my eyes, that hears through my ears, that perceives the world around me. But I am a minute energy, like a point of light. As I look deeper into myself, I can see that I have many memories of many experiences of my past. They're stored in the soul in the form of habits. But if I look deeper into myself, I'm able to connect with very cool, calm, peaceful energy. I am a peaceful being. This is my original power. I am a loving being. This is my strength, my driving force behind everything I do. I am love itself. I go deeper within, silence, beyond anything physical, beyond the temporary or mundane, to a deep stage of perception of myself as a being of light, pure, peaceful, loving light. This awareness, I've become aware of the presence of the Supreme, of the source of peace. And I become aware of how this vibration goes right across every corner of the soul. And I'm able to feel the vibration so silent of unconditional love. The love that accepts me as I am. True love, divine love, God's love. This is the love that heals the wounds in my heart. This is the love that makes me free from the past. This is the love that nurtures my heart and allows me to be who I am, the real me. Deep into this feeling of being loved, accepted by the divine. eternal Mother and Father. As I hold on to this feeling, I will come back. And as I breathe deeply, I allow the vital energy of love go to every part of my body. I allow this energy to spread all around me. Om Shanti.
On behalf of everyone, I would like to thank from the soul and the heart to Moira Love for this inspiring topic on healing the soul and heart. What I taken with me is a few points, but I had to select because I have a homework now, Sister Moira. We all have a homework now to do. So I have these points that I really like it, and I'm gonna churning about it. That is, in order to heal, you need to forget. The other one is things happen to me, but not for me. And my real power is being peaceful. And I also like to write the letter to God. That is, I have done too many times, and it's really healed me. It's like you give everything to him and you're light and free. So this is my homework. And thank you again, Sister Moira, for this lovely presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed the way I did and take notes and put it on practice, because this is the main work, to put it on practice and work on it. So thank you from the heart and the soul to you. And we hope we can see you again in Toronto, in person or in Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you,
you.
Veronica. Thank you all. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om
Have a good
Shanti.
night.
And to everyone present this evening, I take this opportunity to thank you for joining us, and looking forward to see you back in February. To conclude these programs, we have some beautiful music song, I can say, from the soul and heart. Also, upcoming programs. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you again for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. I'm a blessing to the world. I'm a blessing to the